Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. To celebrate my channel passing the 500 subscriber mark, I've pulled a favourite from my collection, 1992's Dragon Kings for AD&D Dark Sun by TSR. Okay, first a bit of history. Dragon Kings is a 160-page hardback accessory for TSR's ill-fated Dark Sun world. The book presented options for player characters to go from level 20 to 30 and introduced 8th, 9th and 10th level priest spells and 10th level wizard spells to the system. Okay, to the cover. Here we have a nice piece by Gerald Brom, which unfortunately feels a bit squashed due to the huge Dark Sun logo. Okay, to the inside. The book begins with a foreword by Timothy B. Brown where he discusses the concept of the book as well as the general aims of high-level gaming on the Dark Sun world. It discusses how no characters can escape the consequences of superior experience. The first part has a few short tales described as being Athasian legends, and then it goes on to discuss the concept of psionic enchantment. The explanation for the existence of 10th level magic is that only a mind fine-tuned with psionics can understand and tap the sources required in order to command such tremendous energies. It uses the proliferation of psionic powers on Athas as a means to an end. No special training is required in order to cast spells of this magnitude. You do, however, need to be a 20th level psionicist as well as 20th level in your spellcasting class. These very powerful spells often take weeks, months and even years to prepare and cast. The book also introduces us to what it calls advanced beings. The idea being that spellcasters leave their human forms when advancing beyond 20th level and are completely transformed by 30th level. Only defilers, preservers and clerics can make this transformation. Defilers transform into dragons, preservers transform into a new creature called an Avangion, and clerics become elementals. Clerics can choose to keep a human body when advancing though. In order to become 20th level in two classes, the dual class rules need to be followed aside from half-elves who can be multi-class defiler psionicists. It then goes on to advise us the level of the sorcerer kings of the 7 established city-states. It also goes on to talk about the gamble Cleric attempted in the Dark Sun novels, essentially transforming from 21st to 30th level in one fell swoop, and also how the Dragon Kings grant Templars clerical spells. This is due to something called a living vortex that attach themselves to them from the elemental planes. They cannot use the power, but they can grant it to others. First up are warriors. Warriors beyond 20th level begin to develop a reputation and amass followers. Gladiators become even more adept at defending themselves, and rangers gain followers and can start using clerical scrolls and magical items and can write scrolls. It gives some rules on the use of followers and challenge combat, the instance where rather than units of soldiers fighting, they will assign a champion to fight for them. It gives the attitude to challengers where the other races are concerned, with Athasian elves' inherent untrustworthiness making them difficult to believe. It then goes on to give some army lists for the battle system rules, although in all my years of gaming I've never met or even spoken to a person who used them, and then it goes on to stat out some new war vehicles. We have heavy and light chariots, the cliff glider, the mechalot ram and the intimidating undead war beetle. It also stats out silt skimmers. Amongst all of this it also gives you the method of constructing them. Next up are dragons. It discusses the prerequisites and experience points required to become dragons, with the amount needed to go from level 21 to 30 being an eye-watering 7.2 million. It also gives us the wizard spell progression table beyond level 20, and then goes on to tell us what happens to the dragon at each level. This is illustrated from level 20 to 30 here. Dragons between level 25 and 29 have a rampaging animalistic stage where the DM is advised to take over the running of the character, although how this would make a player want to follow this path with that as an inevitability is quite bizarre. It also discusses which classic magic items will affect dragons. Following this are Avangions. Unlike dragons, which I feel need no explanation, Avangions are something new. When preservers advance beyond level 20, they transform into what can only be described as an angelic alien-esque butterfly-like creature of incredible power. As you might expect, Avangions suffer no animalistic stage and actually get wisdom score increases as they level up, and it's also slightly easier to reach the higher levels, with the experience point needed being 6.4 million. We also have a little discussion on the wish spell and how the DM could handle it, and it then goes on to discuss the Tome of Magic and how the spells should be introduced into Dark Sun. Following this, we have what feels like a large chunk of page filler where it discusses sensory effects of spellcasting on Athas and introduces a new proficiency, sensory alteration, which allows wizards to adjust any sensory effects produced by their spells. It also talks about sensory effects of specialist wizards and has a bit of discussion on familiars of Athas and more page filler in the way of wizard hideaways. Next up are clerics. As clerics proceed to past 20th level, they gain access to the quasi-elemental planes associated with their element. There are basically two paths open to clerics beyond level 20. They can keep their human form or begin the transformation into an elemental. The amount of time the cleric can stay in this form per day is based on their level, and while in elemental form they gain some enhanced abilities. They can summon, control and steal powerful elementals. By the time a cleric reaches level 30, they can stay in elemental form 24 hours a day. It also discusses Templars, stressing that they cannot advance beyond 20th level, although they can dual class. It talks about former Templars and how they are treated and what they can do, as well as the Templars that were stripped of their power with the death of Cleric. After this we have Druids. As Druids pass beyond 20th level, their protected lands and what they can do within them becomes more powerful. They can call entire species there to their aid, as well as gaining the ability to teleport within there and eventually can close them off entirely to outsiders. Their powers culminate in the ability to absorb Defiler magic at level 30. We then go on to discuss priest spells beyond level 7. Unlike wizards, priests do not need to be a 20th level psionic to be able to comprehend these powerful enchantments. It talks about which spells in Tome of Magic are allowed in the setting, and then goes on to explain where the world of Athos sits in relation to the Outer Planes. It also gives some rules on clerical organisations and congregations. After this, it discusses rogues beyond level 20. Eventually, rogues gain the ability to cast illusion spells, and bards can perform various activities normally associated with wizards, such as penning scrolls and brewing potions. It also gives some new thief skills that can be obtained beyond 20th level, although quite why these aren't all given at first level is puzzling. After this are psionics. Beyond level 20, psionics come to the attention of an incredibly powerful underworld group called the Order. They have charged themselves with keeping psionics on Athos pure and view it as a gift that should be cherished. It gives information on the Order and talks about how you become a member, the roles within it and their agenda. They consider psionic creatures to be noble things and have a new specialised devotion called Beast Mastery, which allows them to commune with and control these beasts. It talks about how the DM can use the Order in their campaign and also their attitude towards advanced beings. After this we have a list of spells available within the setting, and then it goes on to the new spells. Wizards are first up. It gives us an array of new level 1 to 9 spells. Highlights here are the 6th level spell Improved Haste, which, unlike the standard haste spell, doesn't aid you with each casting, Sands of Time, a 7th level spell that can reverse the effects of aging and erosion on non-living items, the 8th level Protection from Time spell, which does exactly what the title says, and the 9th level Vampiric Youthfulness, which as you would imagine drains the life energy of living creatures to make the caster younger. Following this we have the first 10th level psionic enchantments. First up is Abrasion, a spell that takes 10 days to cast and has a duration of 120 days that can reduce gravel and sand into deadly abrasives. We then have Advanced Domination, which turns the recipient into a puppet of the caster. Following this, we have the first of the transformation spells, Defiler Metamorphosis. As you would probably expect given the nature of Defilers, each level of the spell requires the sacrifice of living creatures and riches, and it's a truly evil evocation. We then have Defiling Regeneration, which allows the Defiler to empower a force of creatures to regenerate lost hit points at the cost of surrounding vegetation. And this is followed by Defiling Stasis, which pushes defiling damage far away from the caster for a period of time. It can be used by preservers to prevent damage to an area, or by defilers to push their damage out of sight. After this we have Dome of Invulnerability, which creates an enormous dome that prevents any 1st to 4th level spell effect from penetrating. Next up is Enchanted Armaments, a spell which allows the wizard to temporarily enchant a large number of weapons against a specific foe. This is followed by Enslave Elemental, which does exactly what you would expect, and after this we have Immediate Animation, one of the few spells that can be cast instantly to animate a large number of undead at once. Just Sovereign is next. This is an enchantment that is used to subjugate a population into believing that their leader is far kinder than their previous actions would dictate. And after this is Life Extension, a spell that allows the caster to extend their age beyond the maximum allowed for their race. Then we have Magical Minions, which lets the wizard create a force of identical creatures that are in essence a physical extension of themselves. Magical Plague is next up, which creates a magical virus that has the power to disrupt an entire school of magic. And then we have Masquerade, which empowers the caster to make the most powerful leaders of a community believe that they are their leader. Following this we have Mass Fanaticism, which bolsters the combat ability of a large group of creatures, and the powerful Mountain Fortress, which, as the name suggests, conjures a heavily protected mountain fortress where there was none before. After this is Pact, which creates a bargain between a powerful outer planar creature, and then we move on to the second transformation spell, Preserver Metamorphosis. The casting conditions of this spell involve nurturing the land and relationships with other characters, long times in isolation, and adventuring. At the final 30th level, the Avangion must make a large area of lush vegetation and enter a sealed glass cocoon, from which they will eventually emerge as a fully realised Avangion. The process from level 20 to 30 is illustrated here. Prolific Forestation is next, which does exactly what you would expect, as does the next spell, Prolific Vegetation. After this we have Pure Breed. This spell can turn any half-breed character, half-elf, half-giant or mull, into a pure breed of either part. After this we have Raise Nation, which allows the wizard to animate the skeletons of a long-dead civilization, and then there is Recruitment, which summons those it describes as having ever drawn blood and anger to the caster, and after this is Reverse Loyalties, which is a very powerful version of Mass Charm, which also has the effect of making the charmed creatures see the caster as the object of their loyalties. We then have Rift, which brings the negative material plane closer to the caster, which has the effect of making undead near the caster much stronger. And this is followed by Rolling Road, which conjures a road in front of the caster wherever he walks for a period of time. And then there's Undead Lineage, which allows the caster to find out intimate knowledge about a powerful undead creature. And finally, Wall of Ash, conjuration deadly to living creatures. Next up we have a spell list of priest spells for the Dark Sun setting, and then we are into the priest section. We have a few 1st to 7th level priest spells. Of note here is the 6th level spell, Silt Tides, which allows the caster to affect the levels of the Sea of Silt, and Unliving Identity, which allows the caster to give temporary identity and personality back to skeletons and zombies. Finally, we have Silt Cyclone, which conjures a deadly abrasive cyclone of dust. We then have the 8th, 9th and 10th level spells available to priests. It starts off with Alter Climate, which allows the priest to subtly affect weather over a 40 square mile area over a long period of time. After this we have Create Oasis, which does exactly what it says, and the horrific Forever Minions, which ensures that a number of followers will automatically animate as zombies when killed. We have Hasten Crops, which does exactly what it says, and then there is Reverse Wind, which allows the priest to change the direction of the wind itself. We then have Wild Weather, which allows the priest to conjure extreme bad weather in an area, and then Air of Permanence, which allows the priest to slow the effects of aging on a non-living item. Then there's Disruption, a powerful enchantment which has the effect of disrupting the magical link between Templars and Sorcerer Kings, cutting off their source of spells, and Mountainous Barrier, which conjures a temporary ring of enormous mountains from the ground. Following this we have Pocket Dimension, which essentially allows a kind of bag of holding effect for the priest, with the exception being that living creatures can reside in it, and then we have the priest version of the aforementioned Prolific Vegetation. And finally, Storm Legion, a powerful enchantment that allows the priest to transport an army by way of a magical storm. Then we come to the 10th level priest spells. First up is Cleanse, which allows the priest to reset another character's alignment after it is somehow changed, and then Insect Host, which conjures masses of biting insects, similar to a souped up creeping doom. And then we have Plane of Vassal, which allows the caster to capture an outer plane of creature of opposite alignment and force it into servitude. We then have the priest version of Prolific Forestation and Rift, and these are followed by Silt Bridge, which can temporarily turn a vast area of the Silt Sea into solid ground. Next up, Psionics get the Dragon King's treatment with some new disciplines. We have some new fairly standard clairsentient devotions: Environment, Feel Moisture, Predestination, Trail of Destruction and Weather Prediction, and these are followed by some new psychokinetic devotions: Compact, the very useful Concentrate Water, Ghost Writing, Opposite Reaction, and Teleport Object, which is surely a psychoportive discipline. After this we have the psychometabolic devotions of Carapace, Force Symmetry, Pheromone Discharge, Return Flight, Rigidity, and the powerful Strength of the Land. We have the psychoportic devotion of Ethereal Traveller, and then we move on to the telepathic devotions of Acceptance, Alignment Stabilisation, and the earlier mentioned Beast Mastery, which allows psionics over 20th level to gain control over psionic beasts. We have Focus Forgiveness, Impossible Task, Insect Mind, and Mysterious Traveller, which begins a contagious rumour about the psionic's whereabouts, and this is followed by Reptile Mind and True Worship. After this we have some meta-psionic devotions. There's Hive Mind, which is only available to 3 psionics, and finally Psionic Residue, which allows the psionicist to pull PSPs from the environment after being expended by others. Lastly, we have the Monstrous Compendium stats for the Dragon of Tyr, which the artist seems to have drawn forgetting that he has wings, Elemental Clerics, and finally Avangions. Many years ago, I had in my collection every single book from the Dark Sun setting, and one day, when I really needed the money, and we weren't playing 2nd edition anymore, I sold them. There was only one book in that set that I actually missed afterwards. This. It played on my mind, and many years later I actually bought it back for my collection. In this book I saw a vision that the writers had for the AD&D system, taking a character beyond the ceiling of 20th level and into uncharted realms, one that was eventually fully realised in 4th edition with epic prestige classes. The biggest problem Dragon Kings, and Dark Sun for that matter, had was not its ambition, but the clunky 2nd edition system. Dual classing was incredibly unfair on players, placing demands that were just not practical in any game, and the psionic system, which was never great to begin with, was horrifically broken with the power manipulation proficiency. There are many things I love about this book. Avangions and dragons are just great, but I wish the art had been better. Brom's pieces are elegant and evocative, whereas Bax's look like bad comic book art, at least to my eyes. I really wish Brom had illustrated the transformation process, as the Avangion looks incredibly flimsy despite being incredibly powerful. I do feel like classes other than spellcasters are given incredible short shrift here. Gladiators barely get a few lines, and rogues are really not that much better despite the huge experience point demands. The 10th level spells are a mixed bag. Some of them, like the Metamorphosis spells, are definitely worthy of that mantle, whereas others just feel like 9th level spells under a different banner. The 8th and 9th level priest spells again seem a bit pointless for similar reasons. The Psionic Devotions are a nice addition, although, as previously mentioned, the Psionic system prevented them being as good as they could have been. In conclusion, Dragon Kings gives us a glimpse of potential. It's a book that is dear to me despite its obvious flaws, and I'm happy I had ideas way beyond its station that dared to be far-reaching, even if AD&D limited it almost to the point of crippling it. I'd give Dragon Kings a 7.5 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget to check out my other reviews. Bud out.